everyone.
I'm the intro boy. What are you doing?
That's all right. I'll pack it up.
This is my territory. I have one job here. You do everything else. I get to do this one thing. This is my one thing. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Oops All Dragons. It's your favorite nerdy podcast that talks about tabletop and nerd shit and all that stuff and blah, 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 blah. You know what we do here. My name's Lissa.
I'm Varun.
And we've got a real simple, basic little... Are we going to lie to you again and say this is going to be a short episode? I mean, who knows? I can't predict the future. But
I'm not saying nothing.
We're on episode 52 now. This feels like a new, era for us. We've been doing this for 2 years now. I think it's time for us to stop lying to ourselves whenever we say, this is going to be a short one. This is going to be
It's the ones we never planned to be short that end up being short.
Yeah, and then it's always the ones that we plan to be short that don't end up being short. So we're just going to stop with the whole trying to control time thing, you know?
Trying to control ourselves.
And I'm having a fun conversation with my friend Varun, and that's what the whole point of the show, that's the raison d'être, right? That's the reason for being, that is how this started, was us accidentally talking for 3 hours after the end of our sessions. So... yeah, we're done pretending.
We're done living this lie.
We're done living this lie. That's not my dream, Dad. That's yours.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That might be the quote of the episode.
Oh my god. So, we're gonna talk about the season 2 of Legend of Vox Machina. The last set of episodes just dropped this past week as of recording. Who knows when this episode's actually gonna go up. Hopefully people still care about the show. But before we get into it, Varun, what you been up to?
Still working my way through the pile of discount game shame. I have made it through a lot of the games I had in my library that I just had never touched. The last one I beat was Hollow Knight. So
you beat Hollow Knight?
Yeah.
Oh god. I'm still stuck in the fungal wastes. I just gave up. As soon as it starts requiring me to do combos to move around, I'm cooked. I can't do it.
It wasn't that hard.
As a person who plays video games, it's not that hard. To you, my video game playing, the extent of my gamer life is Animal Crossing.
To be fair, I am a platformer man. Mega Man X is my favorite game. I think it's a perfect game. I could beat that game in under an hour, 100%. So yeah, I'm in it. But it was a good game.
Yeah, it's a great game. I fucking love the soundtrack for the game. That's my go-to. That's my go-to for when I'm doing
tabletop
role-playing games.
I think that definitely fits.
That is my go-to for ambient music.
Very gothic. Very
my favorite
atmospheric.
Yes, and then there are so many textures and flavors within it because there's different music for each area. And there's some
remixes in there. Yeah.
Yeah. The one that always triggers me is the battle music for the first Hornet fight. It's literally the first big boss fight in the entire game. It took me 5 hours to beat.
Really?
Yes.
I mean, she wasn't that hard.
Exactly. My point just keeps getting made. She's the literally first boss battle, and it took me 5 hours. Isn't
the first? Well, it depends on where you go, because the game kind of just let you go wherever. Yeah, but isn't the first boss the kind of rhino bug thing?
Oh yeah, but I mean the first boss battle that's the story arc. I mean, I guess it counts, but I mean as the first boss battle of this is a character that you're gonna keep. Seeing that's going to keep recurring.
I mean, she's one of the few characters you keep seeing because you kill most of the characters in the game.
Yeah. But the first time you fight her, it took me so long because am a button masher, and this game does not...
It does not reward that.
It does not reward that. When I was like... I got to a point where like I was like pulling up like walkthroughs and playthroughs after hour 4 of like I can't fucking do this. Oh no, I'm a bitch baby, and as soon as anything gets a little too hard, I will look up walkthroughs. I look up walkthroughs for Ace Attorney, for Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. Like I don't care. I don't care. I have no shame about it. I play video games to have fun, and you know what's fun for me? Actually, like getting through the story. Winning, exactly.
Winning
by any means. Anyways, listen, when I used to play Pokemon, I would harass my cousin to let me use her whatchamacallit, the thing that lets you get like no, not the guide. What's the what was it called? It's a thing that you put it into your DS and you put the game in and you would hack it and it would give you like 999 Master Balls.
Like a Game Shark.
Yeah, whatever it was called. Like shamelessly.
Action replay.
Yeah. Her. Yes. Yeah, I don't care. I just want to get through the game. I'm here for the story, okay? I'm here for the story.
All right. Like Hollow Knight is very interesting in that the atmosphere and the music are like the stars of the show. And the gameplay itself is mostly very good. My one huge complaint is it's very Souls-like. So like if you die, your soul or whatever stays where you died, and you have to trek back to where you were. But the fucking like checkpoint system is such shit in that game that when you die, you go back so far usually. So whenever I did die, it's just so goddamn long to get back to where I was.
It's really unforgiving.
That's my biggest pet peeve about that. And this was the definitive edition, so like it was whatever the last best version with whatever DLC or whatever was in there. But like that's one game balance thing they could have fixed.
Yeah, but that's I think it's kind of part of the point of it. I don't think it's a game balance. Like, I think that's a choice. I feel like there's so much about that game that is so, like, meticulous, that feels so meticulously placed that, like, it feels like that was a choice.
I get that, but after a while, you run out of things to buy. So, like, the money aspect isn't an issue. It's like, when you die, you lose that part of your bar to use to recharge and everything. So it's just a detriment.
Inconvenient. Yeah.
So like that's artificial difficulty. That's just like a pain in my ass and more time I have to just like do that. Or I have to backtrack all the way to the beginning of the game to get that one dude in the graveyard to give him a rotten egg so he can make my soul reappear right here. But then I've spent so much time getting back to the beginning, I might as well have just gone back to where I was.
But that's the thing with this game is that like what every like article I read, it like really goes back and forth on this exact thing of like how much of a time sink like it can be, because like even in like the battle mechanics of it, a lot of it is like sit and wait and patience and watching and waiting and watching, and like
I'm okay with that.
There's two schools of thought on it. There's people that hate it and there's people that love it. I learned to enjoy the fact that like, okay, no, I have to actually pay attention. I can't just button mash. And part of it is like, no, it really is like, it forces you to be patient and spend more time with it.
Sure. And like in battle and in the obstacles and all of that absolutely makes sense. Because then, yeah, you have to perfectly traverse the world in some ways. Otherwise, you're going to fall in acid or you're going to fall in spikes and you're going to die or whatever it is. And like, absolutely. But the punishment for it is like, you get sent back so far that you don't get to practice the part that you just died at. So you don't get that muscle memory of, okay, I'm getting better at this. You're spending so much time having to fight back through all the mobs, having to get back to where you were, depending on where your save was, depending on where the bench or whatever was you saved at. So like
then it forces you to learn the world. You end up learning the map without even having to look at it.
In some ways, like in some areas. The one that got me, it wasn't the fungal waste, it was the place beneath that. It was like the place that's full of like jellyfish.
Oh yeah.
That one, it took me forever to find the map for that area. So whenever I need to do something there, I was just like, oh fuck, I'm just like in this no man's land. I don't know where I'm going. But once you get toward the end of the game, you get a lot of cool powers that let you traverse stuff that would normally killed you. Like you get essentially the shine spark from Metroid. You get the ability to swim in the acid. So a lot of areas open up, and stuff that was dangerous for you before is now a lot less dangerous. Yeah. So you can now explore the world a lot more. It just takes so goddamn long to get there. And then the other thing I really do appreciate it is the world building, because some of it is text and just like talking to bug characters and stuff, but some of it is more environmental environmental stuff where like you get one of the simple keys and then you end up in the junk pile and then you open up just this like box that's there and like, oh, it's like a god thing that's dead in the junkyard, and when you open up this box you get sucked into its mind, to the god world where it unlocks like all the boss trials. Like but then there's also a story implication to that because you can get a new ending that way. And I'm like, that all that stuff is cool. But I think I just got the standard ending. I got all the areas, I got all the upgrades, and then I got the 3 dreamers. I killed them or released them or whatever you want to call it. And then I just fought the Hollow Knight and I whipped his ass. And then, yeah, your guy takes on the infection himself, and he becomes the new, like, sealed up boy. But then I looked into the other endings, and I didn't watch them, but I read them. I just read what they are, and every end of the game seems to be some variation of that. None of them seem to be a particularly good time. And then the only upgrade I think I never got was the last version of the nail. The last upgrade to it. I got the second to last version. I never got the very last full-on upgrade just because I had to do the final tournament, and I got all the way to the end, but then by the time I got there, the last guy's a boss character. So like you're just fucking wiped by the end. I'm just like, I've already beaten the game. I'm not gonna spend the time to do this. I'm out. Thank you, Hollow Knight. Goodbye.
It's definitely one of those ones where like your mileage will vary on like how far you're gonna be able to like make it in it.
Honestly, the game I think that is a better version of it is the Ori games, Ori and the Blind Forest and Ori and the Will of the Wisps, because they also take on a lot of non-verbal storytelling. It's very platforming heavy, and some of it's really advanced. I don't think in the first game, I don't think there are any real boss battles. The boss is the environment, like you're escaping a flood or you're escaping a volcano or something like that. But it has a good checkpoint system where like if I die, I'm gonna respawn somewhere not too far from where I was. So the game isn't punishing me by like just wasting my time getting back to where I was, because where I was somewhere I died. So it's probably pretty hard. So I don't need to spend the time getting there. I can get there pretty quickly, and now I can practice. How do I need to do this crazy triangle jump? Or how do I need to do this thing where I kill this enemy in a certain way that it elevates me to the next level or whatever it is. So I think the Ori games came afterwards. So I think they saw, what like Hollow Knight and those sorts of games did, and like Dead Cells and stuff. And like, we can do this a little smoother. And also, it looks friggin' beautiful as well. Not as gothic as Hollow Knight. It's definitely more bright and naturey. That's the kind of bright nature, kind of tribal designs, and pretty good. And the story is much more. What's the movie about the like the fairies and
I know what you're
something gully.
A Fern
Gully. Yes, the story is very Fern Gully-esque. Very, very positive on nature, that type of thing. But yeah, so that is what I've been up to, playing the games, and now I'm on to Lego Marvel Heroes 2, which is just a fun time.
Wish I could say I've been doing half as much. I've been still trying to finish. I got like 100 pages left of Terry Pratchett's The Color of Magic. I've got a couple of like sewing projects on the table. I've started messing around with leatherwork.
Wow.
I've gotten offline, sort of just by accident. Like I have no idea what's going on in the world right now. Yeah, I'm just sort of like I have just I'm really just finding little tasks to do.
You're honing your craft.
Oh yeah, I'm like I'm so ready to just like I don't know what. Can I tell you what's actually like incredibly bothering me right now?
So
I just went to the grocery store and I spent $300 and I'm still eating like a fucking college kid.
What?
I'm buying like Spam and ramen, a couple of fruits, a carton of eggs, some other stuff. Like not even that much stuff.
300?
300
for like how long is this meant to last you?
Well, I'm gonna stretch it for like 3 weeks at least.
All right.
But like, I think like the most luxe thing I bought was a single piece of salmon. That was like
how big
$11.
of a piece of salmon? Like half a salmon?
Like one like salmon fillet.
Okay. Like fucking LA, dude. Like
yeah, like it's crazy to think that like 2008, a $300 grocery haul would have you eating 5-star gourmet. You know, like
or have you eating for the next like couple months
for a month. Yeah, like it's insane. So yeah. I'm just sitting here thinking like, okay, how can I maximize the 4 apples and the bag of cuties that I
4 apples? Dear God, like me and Nova, like both of us together, that's like our biggest bill I think was like $170, and that lasts us a couple weeks worth of groceries. I'm like, damn, LA, it's murdering you.
Yeah, stop moving out here, people. It's not worth it.
God, people keep moving here, and it's like, I don't know if our cost of living is going up. It probably is, but not as quick as other places. It's just like housing is goddamn bullshit over here. There's just nothing.
Oh my God. Enough of real world shit. We're here for fantasy and
hold up.
But there's one thing that you want to talk about.
I was going to say, in the vein of fantasy, the other thing that I was not directly involved in, but privy to watching, because I do watch the games industry. This is coming out February 16th, so 2023. So right a few days ago, I believe. The Hogwarts game came out.
This is the segment where Varun informs me on the things on the internet that I have been willfully ignoring. All right, tell me what's happening.
So, you want to hear how we really feel about like Hogwarts and all that bullshit? You want to just hear us go off?
Like the extended edition of this conversation?
We could do that.
So we'll just... The part that we'll leave in the episode is this.
Yeah.
Harry Potter people are fucking weird, dude.
Yeah, I think that's what we're gonna leave that as. And if you want to hear the full version, get on Patreon where we get real spicy.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyways, oh God,
Legend of Vox Machina.
Legend of Vox Machina.
All right.
My Blorbos. It makes me so happy that like more people are being exposed to these stupid little guys that I've been obsessed with for going on 5 years now. Just crazy. Because I discovered Critical Role right when they were finishing the Vox Machina campaign. Like I literally, I caught up on that first campaign the day before the last episode of the campaign aired.
Yeah, you've mentioned that's so much to consume. My God, there's so many hours.
There's so many hours, and it took me a couple of months, but it was because I was listening to it on my like route to school. I had like a 45-minute, sometimes an hour commute to and from school, and like, you know, hours between classes that I was not driving back home between classes. So
I've been there.
I had a lot of time to I had a lot of just free time back then. Oh, how I miss it.
So you just I caught up on One Piece in that time.
Yeah. This is my One Piece.
So before we get into it, if you haven't watched it already, spoilers all over the place. You've been warned.
Yeah.
So just a couple like impressions, a couple things before we get into the like the meat of it, of the story. I've actually, I think last episode I mentioned I've actually started up a couple new games with some new folks who themselves are also Crit Role fans. So like going into these sessions, these sessions with them, they're talking about like, oh yeah, who's seen Vox Machina? Like, oh yeah, are you guys? Oh no, you guys don't spoil it for me. I'm just like, wow. Like, people watch this shit? Like, I get, because like I go around in pretty normie-ish circles, normie enough that like no one I know beyond you is watching like Vox Machina, really, who wants to talk about it. But yeah, I actually had groups of folks of like, oh yeah, like this thing that Grog did, or like actually talking about it, like, all right, I'm getting a little exposure to like the critters. That's what you guys are called?
Yeah.
The critters crowd. So that was fun. But to avoid us literally going beat by beat throughout every single episode, I kind of live tweeted, but I didn't put it out myself, but on my phone took notes of just impressions of things that were happening on the screen that I thought were of notes. And the way that this is, I think the way we'll do it is I'll just start going down the list from where I started in episode 1 to all the way at the end. And if there's a thought that you find is spicy enough or something you want to chime in on, just go ahead.
Okay. What are your thoughts? What are your impressions? I'll clarify things as we go along.
So I was gonna say, short story, it was good. I liked it, but to get into the details. All right. The end of season 1, we see some dragons on the horizon. Then the beginning of season 2, all hell breaks loose. So here's my list. Well, that was an opening.
Yeah. This is in reference to Iman being raised by the Chroma Conclave. The
king dying, supposedly like all the heroes dying, even though they come back later on.
I mean, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, just horribly violent. That was oof.
Yeah.
Then immediately, like next episode. What's with this blind dude beating up Grog? We just straight up doing some anime shit here.
Yes, these guys are absolute huge anime nerds. Like, this show is an anime just made by a Western animation company. Like, it really is. It is a weird blend of like anime tropes and fantasy tropes that I feel like makes perfect sense when you like consider who's behind it. Insofar as like Matt Mercer's original like storytelling, and then like Travis Willingham and Sam Riegel, who were sort of like the lead writers on the show, and obviously they're like part of the main cast. Yeah, when you consider like all of their
weebs, all
resumes, when you consider all of their resumes, like, yeah, of course the voice of Roy Mustang is gonna be making some anime shit.
Yeah. Next, Blood Drinker Blade, which I called last season. Yeah. And then I kind of... it
was telegraphed pretty broadly that that was a cursed blade. Yeah. And honestly, the cursed blade arc, like, subplot, like, it was really the catalyst for a lot of really funny moments for Grog, but also a really fucking terrible moment, like, as we get, like, further into the season, which we'll get to when we get to, but... So Craven Edge is wild, and like what's really funny about it too is that like Mercer has like a whole backstory for Craven Edge. Like there is a whole in like
there's a reason why this thing is in this blade and
in like a Word document somewhere. Mercer has like literally like the guy who like wielded Craven Edge originally, or like who became Craven. I forget what it is. I don't think they ever like explain it.
But he's that kind of DM where there's a story behind it.
Yeah.
Okay. So my question about this is because the rules is written Blood Drinker Blade, it does essentially do what it does in the show, where it pumps up and gives temp HP to someone when you score a crit. Mm-hmm. But only when you score a crit. But the way that's portrayed in the show is that it does that basically anytime he hits anyone with blood. Is that the way it was portrayed in the campaign?
I think it was whenever you...
Did he homebrew it?
Yeah, he homebrewed it. I think it was whenever he killed somebody or something like that, or he was like, if he like crit and he could crit on a 19. I don't remember. There was something like that.
I think that's how the Blood Drinker Blade works. But like you can crit on a 19 and 20, and it gives you the temp HP. But I think he homebrewed it, so it started to just like buff him up when he just did anything.
He made it even more cursed. Yeah, for sure.
Gave it a cursed edge. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I obviously for the sake of like translating from game to show, you have to make it's a translation that makes sense to me. It's a change that makes sense to me because it is more
honestly the way that's portrayed in the show. The way it's portrayed in the show is the way I would want to portray it like in a game. It's like that's something like a literal blood-soaked drinking blade is something that I've thought about like homebrewing and how to make. So okay, me and Mercer are on the same page there. Next one, dragons are capitalism.
Yeah, Thordak is kind of...
He just wants all the gold.
Yeah, Thordak's Bezos, basically, yeah.
Just all of the gold, and like he's willing to let people live in the towns as long as they give him gold, and once there's no more gold, they're just all killed.
Yeah.
Next, god weapons, the
vestiges of the
divergence. Yeah.
The worst drinking game is to watch this season and take a shot every time somebody says vestiges of divergence. You are dead 6 episodes in.
I say it a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
So and at that point I'm like, oh, okay, this is where we're going with this.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Everyone's getting an upgrade.
Yeah. And obviously this arc, the Chroma Conclave arc, and them going after all of the vestiges and doing Vasselheim and doing the whole thing. Like, it took, I think, most of the campaign was this arc.
Wow.
So they're having to condense, I'm going to say a solid 300 of the 500 hours, or maybe even 400 of the 500 hours into 2 seasons.
And then there's more after that with like Vecna and stuff, right?
Yeah, and then there's the Vecna stuff after, which they've already started setting up some stuff for Vecna here in this season.
They are good with foreshadowing. They did foreshadow this dragon shit last season.
Yeah, which, like, they're being coy about it, but I'm pretty sure they're going to get a 4th season. Because, okay, I should say, probably. As far as, like, if you're surprised that they're getting a 3rd season at all, I've been keeping up with, so as the... sets of episodes have been releasing. They've been coming out on Fridays, and then Tuesdays they've been doing, like the Tuesday after the episode's released, they've been doing like watch parties with like some of the cast, and usually either like a special guest or like special voice acting guest.
Must be cool, yeah.
Somebody from
they voice acted out, but they don't see the visuals, obviously.
Yeah, and some of them. So like, for example, Troy Baker of Last of Us fame. He plays, what's his name? Sildar, the elf dad who's an asshole.
Ooh. Elf dad.
That's
I have
Troy
notes
Baker.
on elf dad.
Oh God. We'll get there. But like when they were doing the watch party, and when he was watching it, like that was his first time like seeing it all together. Because he was just like doing his voice for his lines for his
it depends part. I've seen different animation works being done, and like sometimes they have either the full animation or the animatics ready for when they're doing the voice acting, but sometimes the voice acting gets done first and they have no visuals to work with.
Yeah, I think they definitely had like some visuals to work with. But anyway, this is all to say that, like, I've been keeping up with those watch parties, and they have dropped, either by accident or on purpose. Maybe this is already known information, and I'm the one that's late to this. But yeah, Sam Riegel dropped that, like, they're already working on season 3.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Anyways, next bullet point, please.
So question about Scanlan's hand. Like,
Scanlan's hand.
So that is
Bigby's hand.
That's Bigby's hand in the game.
Yes.
What the hell does that spell do? Because Matt just kind of just lets that do anything, huh?
It's kind of like a souped up mage hand.
I thought it was mage hand for the longest time until I'm just like, you're just like doing anything with it.
I honestly think it, I actually never looked into it. It might be a homebrewed spell.
But then why couldn't he use the name Bigsby then?
Well, if you notice, a lot of the spells and items and like, so for example, no, not even if it was homebrew. If it's something that exists in, so Bigby's hand is something that exists in. That's what I thought. Wonder what book this comes in. This player's handbook.
Living. Oh no, Bigby's hand spell.
Yeah, it's a 5th level spell.
Okay, so it's like a mage hand, but with stats.
Yeah, it's like a level.
AC
it's a level
20.
It's a 5th level spell.
It has strength. It has dex scores. You can clench fistful. Okay, so this makes a lot more sense. Okay,
yeah. And so whenever it's something that like exists in the books, in the
they can't use the proper names. Yeah.
So for example, if you notice in like I think in the 1st or 2nd episode, they call the dragons variegated dragons instead of chromatic.
Mm-hmm.
Which I was like, oh, you're doing the thing where it's not Coca-Cola, it's Nuka-Cola or whatever. It's not
RC Cola.
Yeah, it's like you change something.
It's Kirkland brand. Okay.
It's Cola.
So that makes more sense. Okay, so why you could do all the wacky stuff. Okay.
Yeah, and also for some of it is also just for convenience purposes. As far as like
Matt
the show,
just letting stuff go.
Not necessarily. It's just like I'm talking about for the
creative liberty
show.
For the show.
Yeah, there's a lot of creative liberty that's taken for the show because there are certain things that need to be condensed, and there are certain things that just need to happen. And this comes later on, but
adhering to the rules would kill the pacing.
Yeah. Where like later on in like the second to last episode of the season. When he uses Scanlan's hand to get him and Vax inside of the dragon.
Yep.
Originally in the game, how that happened was he dimension doored or like he used some sort of like teleportation spell to get inside the dragon. Where like he had to shrink Vax first because it was like one of those ones where like you can take something with you as long as it's not bigger than you, or take someone with you as long as they're not bigger than you. So he had to shrink Vax and then teleport.
Gotcha.
That would have taken way too fucking long.
I was gonna say it would. Yeah, so that's sort of.
And it's just visually much funnier and much more stupid to do it the way they did it.
Yeah. Okay. Next item. The Raven Queen, or the Maiden of Ravens, as
the Matron of Ravens. I mean, they use several names. They do call her the Raven Queen, at some point
in the campaign, or because I don't think they call her that in the show, because that's another one of those copyrighted names.
Yeah, I think they just call her the Matron of Ravens or the Goddess of Death or something like that. Like they do use several different like terms for her, but I don't think they call her specifically the Raven Queen at any point.
But it's the Raven Queen.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. That's my girl.
Belt of Beards? ?
Oh, it's like the belt of giant strength. It's like the giant strength belt. I don't.
What?
It's
It didn't seem to help Grog at all. It just gave him a beard. It's like Caitlin's belt of pants.
It's a belt of dwarven kind. That's what it is.
Oh, okay.
while attuned to the belt, you have a 50% chance each day at dawn of growing a full beard if you're capable of growing one. So,
okay.
If I recall, when he first got the belt, he was like, "All right, sure, I'll wear it."
And nothing happens.
It does like raise your constitution score and whatever, blah blah blah. But first couple of days, nothing happened. But every day he would like, "Is today the day? Is today the day?" And then like in game, like a week had passed, and he finally wakes up with a beard, and like it really, what a joyous occasion.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, the Belt of Dwarvenkind is one of those like iconic moments.
All right.
Grog got a lot of really good moments this season.
He did. So I think there was a flashback. Elf racism. What else is new?
It's specifically half elf racism.
I mean, the racism of just the elves in general.
Oh yeah, elves
to anyone
being
who's
racist,
not
but like
a pure elf.
Sildar specifically. I mean, it goes to show how good Mercer is at creating characters that are like NPCs that still like elicit really visceral reactions from an audience. Because like I remember even like in the original campaign, every time that guy showed up, which this was really the only time that he showed up in the campaign. It's a very similar situation where they were in the Fey realm. So originally they didn't get split up like that. They went together. Like them going to Western and them going to the Fey realm, those were two separate like adventures within the arc. Those are like separate quests. But here, obviously, for expediency, they had to split the party, for pacing, for the animator's sake, so they didn't have to be animating 7 people at a time.
Yeah, the whole party, every single episode.
Time, yeah. In every single scene, you know. And...
But Sildar.
Oh, God.
What a dick.
But it did give us... The scene kind of felt a little flat in the show, but it did give me one of my personal, like... So I'm a Percalia girl, which is to say I'm a fan of the relationship between Percival and Vexalia. And when he stands up for her and is like, that's Lady Vexalia, the blah, 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 of the Grey Hunt, blah, 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 blah.
That was cool. Got some sparks of romance going on in this group.
Romance. Which,
right.
like, that is one of, like, the sub-themes of this season and sort of this arc, is that, like, yeah, despite everything going to shit, like, you do still have to acknowledge your humanity of, like, which is, like, a conversation that they vaguely have, Vex and Keyleth vaguely have later, of, like, yeah, there's all this shit going on, but, like, your feelings still matter. And, like, this is the time to worry about your feelings, because there might not be a tomorrow. Anyways, right. It makes me go just absolutely feral that also, like, the first time that Vex stands up to Sildar is to defend Percy, too. It's like they... Oh, God, it's so good. It's so good. Varun, it's so good. Anyway, yeah. Right. And I'm also obsessed with the idea of a city that can just transport into another realm because they're cowards and little bitches.
I mean, elf bullshit, but...
Elf bullshit!
Okay, so they get the quest from the Sphinx, and then the other two, the Tiefling and the Paladin fella, also go tag along. These two talking about betraying the party right behind them. Just something I noted. Interesting that some races, the fish people, are still portrayed as, like, mindlessly evil, which is, you know, kind of interesting in Mercer's world, where there's lots of shades of gray in a lot of things. Like, the fish people are just mindless monsters. Vax said, don't touch anything when they open the tomb. Always wait for the rogue. Homegirl just dies. Yo, did they just kill off Vex from a random trap? How D&D of them.
Oh my God, that's literally, like, knowing that scene was coming up, like, I didn't sweating, because this is another like super pivotal moment for the campaign, because a lot of stuff basically, so the moment that the dragons, like, you know, raise Amon, that was also very viscerally like described in the campaign and everything, and it was that was the moment where Matt was essentially turning to his players and going, the tone of the game is going to shift now. Shit's getting fucking real. If you want out, this is where you get off the ride. And that moment with Vex, that was just like kind of that was a payoff of that. That was him going, the world is very dangerous.
And I like that they have a cleric and two clerics or a cleric of the past, I don't know, but like resurrection spell, and they have the things to do and they try to do it and it just fails because they're in the domain of the Raven Queen and it just doesn't work.
And Death
he's like, no, you're not bullshitting your way out of this.
You're not getting out of this so easily. Like, and then there's just so many things that come from that. Percy's guilt over it was his fault. It was his fault because him and Vax, they're friends, but they're also in this constant pissing contest of who can be the most emo boy of all time. Vax wins. He is literally the champion of the Death Queen. He wins the edgelord competition. Once Percy has literally exercised his demons, he becomes a lot less edgy and a lot more of just a fucking dork, which I love. That's my little pathetic little meow meow. That's my guy. I love Percy. He's so stupid. I eat it up. But like his guilt, and then like Vax is just like, he just disconnects. He is dissociating for every moment after that. And like one thing that I do wish that they had, like I feel like if I didn't already know what was going on with Vax, I wonder how did you interpret the scene of like immediately after where like he's standing there and the Raven Queen's there, and then like, you know, he's got the armor, you know, all that stuff that happens in that. I think that the third episode where he makes that deal.
Well, let me keep going. So there's a flashback to the two half elves as children. Well, that's a dark origin for an animal companion.
And that is true to the campaign as well.
The Raven Queen is a hoe. That's an interesting way to bargain a player.
Why'd you say that?
Because she's just like fucking with them and just like killed Homegirl and like stole his soul, or like I didn't know what was going on at the time.
She's doing her job. That is something that is very important, and that like this whole season does. And also, she's
like haunting him like a specter.
A little bit
at every turn.
Well, and like. Again, this is all this goes back to like my comment of like there's a lot of context here that I think gets a little lost, and like it makes sense that they have to cut it for time. But like the armor being like her like the Deathwalker's ward being her champion's armor, and that like it was very significant, and who the Raven Queen is in the cosmology of Mercer's universe.
I think it comes across later on. But yeah, my initial impression is like, she's a hoe. She's just like fucking with this guy.
Yeah.
Because she's haunting him before he gets the armor. So she's fucking around with him with fate and all this bullshit beforehand. Yeah. But then later on we realize, there's a bigger thing going on. Yeah.
But it's because like her whole point is that like, that's his destiny. Like it was written, you know? He was already... This was already the direction that he was going in, kind of a thing.
So that is an interesting way to bargain a player back to life. I like letting the players know exactly what the devil's bargain is that they're agreeing to when something like this happens, which we have encountered with frickin' Saul's character in our campaign. Yeah, I let him know exactly what he was going to lose for coming back to life.
And even in the campaign, it was like this too. Like the confusion is very true to the campaign of like Vax really in the campaign and in the show, like he doesn't know what he just gave up, but all he knows, he got his sister back. And that's super important to him. It just goes to prove how much like they are dependent on each other. They're codependents, really. And like, you know, punctuated by the scene of like him when they're kids and him sobbing in the rain, that like he knows she doesn't need him. He's the one that needs her.
He's the one that needs her.
Like, and this is a bit of a sidebar, but there is a novelization that they put out because they have like their own like publishing arm. That is a novelization of like basically
their
some
childhood.
not their childhood. It is their childhood and sort of like some of their young adulthood. Basically, some of their story before they meet the rest of Vox Machina, and like one particular like thing that they go through, and like, oh god, they're so good. They're so good. I do like. Even if you don't know any of this and you don't care about Critical Role, whatever, it's
just a good
in and of itself,
book.
it's a good fantasy book. It's called Kith and Kin. It's just good fantasy, man.
All right. So the tiefling lady lets out the big monster.
Zara.
Just petrified. All right, straight up animation with this armor. He's just like speeding around the place at this point.
Yeah.
Bear Pokeball. They just get a Pokeball ability.
Yeah.
So Keyleth is the Avatar.
Yeah.
Quote of the episode: "Restrain your loot with your own pubic hair."
Yeah. So on Keyleth being the Avatar, there is at some point a flashback of Keyleth being a little girl and seeing her mom basically for the last time, and her mom like going off on her
Rumspringa.
tour on her Rumspringa, her Aramente, and
That's
her mom is voiced by Korra. So yes, she is literally the Avatar.
Okay. Okay. Fiery side quest, literally. That sword is bad news. Homeboy is cutting all the lava things. No, bad news is Percy's gun. Bad news is Percy's gun. Literally. Okay, Percy has amazing names for all of his weapons. I just have to. Okay, that's my baby girl. I'm sorry. She got the power of fire.
Yeah, she unlocked fire.
That was cool. She basically can become a fire giant. That's awesome.
Yeah, a fire elemental.
Sure. Trial to wound the Sphinx that's never felt pain. Cool. Heartbreak. I called it. I knew the moment he said the challenge. I'm like, he has to make him feel bad.
Yeah. And this is where you realize that this season is a musical season.
Just a whole...
Sam Riegel went off on like, there's like 3 or 4 like solid musical numbers in this season that I'm like, okay, where's the MP4, bestie?
They went off on that song. Yeah, he plays a song of the first Sphinx that they meet, who is the lover of the second Sphinx, and he makes him feel heartbreak. And they haven't seen each other in centuries. Yeah, and that hurts him, that wounds him, and then they become besties. That allows it for like 5 minutes, because my next note is they just got that sword. Yeah, but why would you let them have anything for long? You have to put roadblocks. It would be too easy for them to just let them have things. My next note, do they split the party this much in the campaign? You just said no. Are they at the point where... So now with as theatrical as things have gone, my next question note is like... are they in the campaign? Are they at the point where this is like fully a show now? They've gone from like, this is just the game that we're playing with our friends, and now like, okay, this is a production. Like, have they gotten to that point yet? I mean, at this point, it wasn't what it is now, because it's, gone through like stages, but they're definitely like have better sound equipment, better cameras, a better set. At this point, I'm more concerned about their gameplay, because their gameplay is obviously going to be influenced on like... Here's the thing. Like, I sincerely think that if they had been playing at home, it would have still gone exactly the same way. Okay. Interesting. Based on... like, there are videos out there of like their early home games, and like... just like clips and stuff of like Mercer doing voices and like, the rest of the cast doing voices and playing and stuff. Like, I really think that I sincerely don't think that their play style and storytelling style really changed all that much once they got an audience. Like, I think maybe things got a little bit more theatrical.
Well, no, like the theatricality of it, I really feel like I think it really just the quality that really like improved was really like the like technical stuff.
Okay.
Like having like a dedicated set for them to play, because like the first couple of episodes of campaign 1 of Critical Role, they're playing like in a closet somewhere. Like they didn't have like I don't feel like they had like a dedicated space for them, but like at this point there's clearly a little bit more of an investment going into the production itself and the stream and whatever.
Okay.
But I really don't think that the gameplay
would have been
affected.
Different.
Yeah.
Okay. Next couple notes. Barbarian with a weakness complex. Interesting. He breaks the sword. He got svelte.
That was the point of the blind guy beating him up, is like, what is it that like gives you strength? And like he jokingly says, because like it's quote unquote the right answer of like, my strength comes from my friends, but it's like, no, you don't actually believe that. You don't actually know that. You haven't actually like you don't actually believe that. You haven't internalized that. That's not the truth. Like it is the truth, but the end of that is
he doesn't know.
Exactly. That is the truth, but you don't know that. Yeah. And like
it's just
he really does have that complex, and like as we get his backstory, like his backstory in the show is a little bit different from what it was originally, but you know, they've heightened things, they've changed things for expediency and all that, and to make more sense with how the show had needed to be structured, like the animated show needed to be structured. But like, yeah, Grog absolutely has a complex about like he needs to be the strong guy. That's his whole purpose in the party, is like, because what else is he gonna do? Unlock locks? No, that's Vax's thing. Be the plans guy? No, that's Percy's thing. Be the money guy? No, that's Vex's thing. Like, everybody has their thing, and his thing is being the strong guy, and once that's taken away, what does he have?
And then there's just a long montage of the two smallest characters carrying him around.
Yeah, and another great song. And that song is really actually a reference to Making My Way Downtown.
Yeah.
Like, that's literally that, but they've just made it into like
kind of a fantasy song, yeah.
Yeah.
With some fucks in there.
Yeah. And it's fun because it plays on that I feel like it plays on that like very Tolkien-esque Lord of the Rings thing of like hobbits have travel songs.
But they're gnomes.
Okay, what's your point?
All right. I was always confused about that. I wasn't sure if Pike and Scanlan were
they're definitely gnomes.
Or no, but yeah, they come out and say that they're gnomes later on. Okay, they go to the Fey Realm and they meet the satyr guy. Again, quote of the episode: "Why do I have 3 peni?"
Oh my god! Yes, Garmelie. Oh my god! Oh god! And oh god, I love the whole Garmelie bit. Like this was a really fun. Like I think this was like episode or 2 where they're in the Feywild and having to deal with Garmelie and his antics.
It was the first one. But just in general, yeah, them being in the Fey Realm, the Feywild, whatever, just very wacky, but pretty cool, like visualizations of essentially like a realm where your perception of reality is highly warped. I think it's pretty cool.
I think it was really interesting how they chose to interpret it, because like I feel like the Feywild is something that every DM is going to have a different way of describing it, and everybody's going to have a different way of visualizing it in their head. And they had a real task in like, how do we portray this place where like physics don't even work how you think they're going to work?
A realm of essentially imagination. Yeah,
a realm of nonsense and a realm of feeling. I think that because like it's something that's like in the rule book, right? Of like where like the Feywild and the Shadowfell are two like opposites of each other, but they are like feelings based realms, very like highly emotionally charged realms, but just in opposite colors,
opposite directions.
Yeah, in opposite directions. but they're both fueled by like extreme emotion and imagination,
which is going to come up soon.
Dreamlike versus nightmare-like logic. But yeah, like, and I think that's really nicely visualized through like that forest.
Yeah.
That reacts like to Vax being weird, a little shit.
Being attached to the Raven Queen, like she sees and the pretty bird, and then it gets eaten by the grass or whatever. Just like, all right.
So funny story about the bird. So
there's a story.
Mercer and Mercer Ray famously have they had this bird named Dagon that like. During the production, the bird passed away, and they had completely forgotten that they had greenlit that there was going to be a bird in the Feywild that was designed after Dagon.
Oh boy.
And like was going to get viciously eaten to prove a point. So they had completely forgotten about it. So when they were watching it, and this is a story that came through one of the watch party episodes, they were watching it, they saw that, and they cracked up because they completely forgot that had happened, that they had greenlit that.
Okay. The bird's based on a real bird. Oh, cool. Why is Grog literally deflated? Like I alluded to before, he's being carried around.
So in the campaign, originally what happened when he detached from the blade and broke the blade, he died, and Pike had to revive him.
Oh hell!
And basically in creating the show, they're like, okay, we can't keep killing people and reviving them because it cheapens death. And we don't want to do that. So what else can we do to Grog? And take his strength away. So that's why he deflated. That's why
lost all the strength score.
Yeah, he
got an 8, went to negative.
Basically, like the idea is that because in its final moment, Craven Edge siphoned all of Grog's strength out of him as it was destroyed because his strength was so tethered to the blade as a way of sort of visualizing the attunement, I guess. Yeah. Okay.
Next, they're high. Elf family drama. Magic suppository.
Yeah.
Grandpa Henry Winkler?
Yeah.
The Fonz.
Like that's the only guy who could have played Wilhand, honestly.
All right. Like I'm just listening to them like, that's the Fonz.
Dude, when I tell you, these people got some.
They got Lance Henrik to be the big red dragon. I'm like, oh shit, that's the voice.
Yeah, they got some people to be in this show. All right.
The real villain is Daddy Issues.
The real villain is Daddy Issues. There are some bad dads in this show, man.
Incel elf tree man.
Yeah. Did you also feel like his like the roots thing that like connects him to the tree, like the vines, did that also feel a little bit like Stranger Things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And like I know that the show's been in production for like this season has been in production for like I think since 2020. So like I don't know if that like happened simultaneously. If that particular design choice happened like before Stranger Things came out or after, but it is like
it is interesting.
It is so striking how visually like
similar
that is.
Yeah.
And also, that Vecna's going to show up in this.
Vecna's going to show up in Stranger Things Vecna.
In
right
3
there.
or 4 seasons. It's going to be a different Vecna.
Sure.
We'll talk about my
Big
feelings about Stranger
Vecna.
Things interpretations of D&D things later.
Dark backstory Grog. I don't know what I was expecting, but I guess it fits. Yeah, he used to be like a raider and everything. Yeah.
And his heart grew 3 times that day.
Scanlan is famous. He meets the troop that like knows him.
They definitely know him for good reasons and not bad reasons.
Yeah, at all.
Mm-hmm.
That are going to come out very soon because I'm reaching the end of the list. Strength comes from protecting the weak. Homeboy. From his friends. This is a brutal fight. This just got metal. Beat his ass with his own severed arm.
No, when Kevdak, like, basically racks him onto the spike and like it goes through his thigh. That is from the like that fight played out almost beat for beat how it played out in the campaign. Like that fight
beat him with a severed arm, with his own severed arm.
Yeah,
Jesus.
Down to like the Pokeball maneuver.
Yes,
too.
She put him in the Pokeball.
He had 1 hit point. He had 1 hit point left when that happened. Yes.
Whoa. Holy
That's why he was like down for the count after that. That is like in the campaign there was like a little bit more it was a little bit more level dynamics happening because there were some horde people on like the roofs and stuff and like it did get to a point where everybody was fighting everybody but like That was a cool moment though when it's like the crew rolls up and just starts beating the herd of swords. When you see them like behind Kevdak like just scurrying across the rooftops. It's so good. I really like that this is also because we're getting to the end of the season and this is the first time that we really see Vox Machina working as a team and playing off each other's abilities. Like, okay, we can't do a firewall, but I could do a wall of thorns.
Yeah,
and Vex can set it on, and Vex can set it on fire.
Yeah, that was cool.
And Vex going, okay, we're gonna try this gambit. I'm gonna, bamf out Trinket, let Trinket have a snack, and get Grog in here, fly up, drop him down.
In the Pokeball.
Ooh, that was iconic. That was cool. That whole, and then Scanlan is just like on the devil horns on the hand, just playing music as this is happening. Yes,
that was cool.
He really is their little drummer boy.
Yeah,
and I feel like that was their interpretation of like, okay, if he's giving inspiration, this is how he's giving inspiration.
Exactly.
He is giving them their soundtrack.
And then the fight's over. Everyone's starting to become friends because the Kevdak's dead. This Raven Queen is a buzzkill. Because she's just
a real fucking cock block too. Goddamn, Vax could have been out there dancing with Keyleth, but no, he has to be out here.
He has to be an emo.
He's gotta go be emo and talk to the dead or whatever. Like, come on, bitch, can I like party for like 2 seconds?
Like 2 seconds without this. Homegirl is his daughter. Oh hell.
yeah.
Wrong mom's name.
No, his whole like bullshit monologue, and she's just like, yeah, that's nothing, and it's like, oh my god,
that's not my mom's name.
You can't like that's what you're like. No, Scanlan has a problem. Like you really can't take anything seriously for 5 fucking seconds, dude. And like it's a real come to Jesus moment for him. Where he's like, oh no, I do kind of have to clean up my act, don't I?
He's
still gonna tell
have sex with your
dick
daughter.
Jokes. Like he's still gonna tell dick jokes. He's still gonna like be terrible, but
incredibly
from here
crass.
on out, incredibly crass. But from here on out, he does like he does temper it a little bit.
All right.
A little bit, not very much.
Do not go far from me. Their catchphrase, yeah.
Blood pool, blood pool, blood pool, blood pool.
Just, he comes out just covered in blood. Just like, oh yeah, are you doing good? Oh my god, what happened?
But like, how gorgeous is that? Where it's like, to commune with the god of death, you have to give in. You can't try to hold your breath. You can't try to struggle. You have to just give. Yeah, you have to give in, and you have to go to that liminal space between life and death. And
the armor too, like he tried to fight the last champion, and then you realize he just had to like give in, let it happen, and then it's about the
inevitability of death. It's like she said, it's the one thing that everybody has in common. Is that you're going to die, and that moment is one of the few things in this world that is sacred that, like, you do have to respect. Which is, like, this is, like, them planting the seeds of, like, yeah, you know, Vecna being a lich and, you know, going towards immortality and stuff is inherently goes against her and the thing that she represents and what she protects.
Order, goes against fate, goes against so many things.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, this is already setting up kind of why she's letting Vax live, too. Why she didn't just kill, you know, take Vax's soul and give back Vax is because he still has a job to do. She knows where that thread of destiny goes for him. And she knows that she needs him to go until that moment.
All right. Immovable sword. 2 fingers up the ass.
The immovable sword was originally an immovable rod.
Sure.
But the immovable sword, I think works really nicely as well.
Just like that was a pretty ingenious plan. Go inside the dragon, put this immovable thing so it grounds him.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Damn.
It grounds him and hurts him, digs a hole out of him. But it did also kind of work more or less the same way in the original campaign where, like, they put the immovable rod there and they're like, all right, cool, we're good. Except that the dragon's just like, okay, what, a flesh wound? Whatever, and flies off anyway. With a big gaping hole in their side, but, like, Umbersoul doesn't give a shit. Umbersoul has magic. Umbersoul can
I was going to say, they do point out multiple times, Umbersoul can just turn invisible. Yeah. And, like, dragons can do magic. That's the level of dragon that they're dealing with. Not just, like, I'm going to breathe a breath weapon at you.
No, these are ancient. No, not ancient. Thordak, I think, is ancient, but the other ones are all adult.
Yeah, they're all adult, but, like, because, like, ancient dragons are the type of dragons that can just look at you and kill you.
Right.
But
which is why they need
and also one thing just about Scanlan's just constant fear of them is that him just like mechanically, is that the draconic presence working on him like in the campaign? So like he's always like, we gotta get the fuck out of here because he keeps failing that save.
I don't remember, honestly. I think it's a character choice as well of him just being a coward and running away from shit.
Okay.
As exemplified by, like, he probably knew that, like, whoever Kaylee's mother was, like, you know, there's a reason why he never knew who Kaylee was, that Kaylee even existed, because he just runs. He just hit and runs. Like, he doesn't stay to see, he fucks around, but he doesn't stay to find out. And this is him finding out. This season is great because where last season, I feel like we start setting up the pieces for all of these characters to have character arcs, and then obviously Percy is like the highlighted one of having a character arc, and Keyleth also to some degree. But here is
Percy's
where
definitely
like
the most.
Everybody, mainly Scanlan, Vax and Vex, like everybody gets
everyone. Grog, like he has his whole
Grog,
thing.
Keyleth, like they all have
a moment,
real moments of growth here where they're like, oh, we're not little kids going around and starting bar fights anymore. We actually like we wield some amount of power and we have a responsibility and a duty to wield that power.
They've gotten the title from like the kingdom and like they want to live up to it.
And despite the king renouncing his title, like they are on the council now. They are part of like, you know, I think early on in the season, I think Scanlan has that moment where he's like, we're just a bunch of fuck-ups. Why is it our job to fix this? And everybody's like, no, look what we did for Whitestone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can do this, but we have to buckle down and stop running away from shit.
Mm-hmm.
Which, yeah, that's Scanlan's arc, is buckle down and stop running away from shit.
Yeah. Raven Queen isn't so evil, like you touched on.
Mm-hmm.
Of course he has wings now.
Yeah, of course he has wings now. He's a raven. Ravens have wings.
This is the last 2 episodes are basically one big fight. This is a long-ass fight. Why are they splitting the party again? Because Vax goes ahead, and of course it doesn't end well for him.
Yeah.
Did Scanlan really kill a dragon in one hit? With Mythcarver there? Is that how that went down in the campaign? Like, he had the magic sword and fucking murdered that thing?
I don't remember, honestly. I think that may have been a story choice. I think that may have been a story choice, because if you notice, the people who got a vestige this season, except for Vax's arc happens kind of backwards, where he gets his vestige and then has his growth arc. But everybody, to get their vestige, they have to go through that ordeal and have that moment of growth. So Grog has to, have that moment of growth and realize my strength comes from my friends and my desire and my ability and my love, and like from my desire to protect those who can't necessarily protect themselves all the time. That's when he finally earns the gloves. Vex has to go through that moment where she realizes, I don't need my dad's validation. I'm a badass all on my fucking own, and who cares about that guy's opinions? Then she gets her bow. And Mythcarver is Scanlan's weapon. Because it's a sword and a pen. I don't know how to explain it. It just works in a way where, like, it makes sense for Mythcarver to go to Scanlan, and so for Scanlan to earn his vestige, he had to go through this arc, and he finally, in that final moment, had his I am going to stop trying to run away from my responsibility of having to defeat these dragons, and I'm gonna fucking go all in, and I'm going to, take my destiny by the reins and actually face the things that I fear.
Chop that thing's head off. A couple notes on Grog, because I skipped over them because they weren't just reactions, but stuff that I'm remembering of, like, when he does realize, he gets his self-actualization, and he again says, I would like to rage, and like he all buffs out, like, oh, that's a great moment.
Yeah.
And then rewinding a little bit, he ends up stabbing Pike with the sword because sword wants blood. Did that happen in the campaign like that too? Yeah,
he does. It doesn't happen exactly in the same way, but yeah, he does end up accidentally killing Pike. Or nearly killing Pike. Like, not killing, but wounding Pike. I don't remember. I remember that he does stab Pike. I just don't remember if it actually killed her or just wounded her really bad.
And that's a choice that the player made. It wasn't like an accident or anything like that.
No, I think it was a little bit roll of the dice and Mercer being a little bit sneaky. Yeah, I don't remember how that moment happened exactly, honestly. It was not, but I know it was not Travis's choice. It would never have been Grog's choice to do that.
Okay.
No.
Well, I don't mean Grog as the character, but I mean Travis as the player.
No, he would not have done that.
All right.
No.
All right. So then, last couple notes here. Dragon betrayal. I think it's the lightning dragon. It disguises herself as the lady from Whitestone and knocks out the other council people. And it's like, I'm betraying.
It's the green dragon.
Oh yeah, you're right. The poison dragon.
It's the poison dragon. Raishan.
Yeah, and she's
Raishan
just like,
becomes a real fucking thorn in our side.
Yo, I'm betraying Big Boy over here. You need me.
Yeah, this gets foreshadowed very early on. In that first episode when they teleport through plants. All the refugees into Whitestone, and then there's that one little kid that it like stops on their face for several seconds. It has really, really green eyes. That was Raishan.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the very last scene, dragon eggs? What?
Yeah.
So that's, I assume, Thordak's
little army.
Right?
Yeah.
That's why he wants the gold to make dragon eggs?
I'm gonna be honest. I'm sure that the dragon's motivations make perfect sense. I just don't recall what they are.
I mean, they are all gold. In
like the mechanics of it, yeah.
I mean, just like in the show, they're portrayed as like the eggs are just like all gold. So I assume that has something to do with all the treasure and shit that they're hoarding.
I don't know. Yeah, was it that the dragon eggs were gold, or is that like they were in molten gold? I think they were just like. I think they were just in molten gold. I don't think the eggs themselves are gold.
Who is laying these eggs? Because Thordak is a dude?
I'm gonna say just don't worry about it. That's one of those ones. That's one of those don't worry about it moments.
All right. Does it get explained, or is it just like, no, don't worry?
I don't remember.
All right. I'm just at like, is this a Godzilla situation? Because Godzilla can flip back and forth. But
I'm sure there's just like some magic bullshit explanation for it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't recall personally.
Okay. But that is the last of my impressions, notes, everything from season 2 of Vox Machina. Like I said up top, very good. Very good season. I appreciate that it's a pretty fun show. Good voice acting. It can be extremely crass or violent when it wants to be, which is refreshing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a kid-friendly show,
no.
Which is really funny to say when you know, one of the creators of the show, Sam Riegel, literally was like, "Yeah, I watched the show with my kids."
How old are his kids?
I don't remember.
Are they tiny or are they like teenagers? It's teenagers.
No,
like,
they're like preteen.
They're on the edge.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a good show. There were definitely some things that were foreshadowed ahead of time of like, Grog's gonna hurt someone with this fucking blade, I can guess who it's gonna be.
Yeah. His best friend.
Yeah. Some of the romance stuff, because it was kind of out of left field for me, because didn't Vax confess some feelings to Keyleth last season? She was like, nah, dog. And then like come back this season, now she's the one who's now like feeling him. I was like, all right.
It's more that Keyleth. So I feel like it was portrayed. I read it differently, where it was portrayed in a way that was very accurate to the show, where it was like, no, they both had feelings for each other, but like Keyleth in that moment at the end of the first season when Vax confessed to her because they were in the middle of a battle, she was like, hey, not right now, dude. We can talk about this later, basically. We're kind of in the middle of something. And he just took that to mean like, no, just back off. But she is very shy and has no self-confidence. And so it wasn't a hard no. It was just a, no, I'm gonna run and hide from this.
I guess,
kind of a thing.
I guess so. But like, at least, yeah, for me, that moment in the first season did seem like down the line when we're done adventuring and like the world isn't ending, sure, maybe. But maybe she might have been a cat. But like, she was also swooning over Paladin Man in that. So I'm just like, I thought she'd moved on. Okay, no, apparently not.
No, she's just a sucker.
I think my standout like favorite, like it's tough. Like every character kind of gets their spotlight
their
there.
Moment, yeah.
But I think my favorite's either Grog or Scanlan for their like arcs. I think they're both very good. They're very different as well. Grog is like, his self reflection, he has an actual self-reflection into like why he is the way he. I think both of them, they both have it, but it goes different ways for both of them.
I am one of my like storytelling weaknesses, where it's like if this happens in a story, I go absolutely feral for it, is like the most jovial comedic relief character. If they have like a moment of heartbreak, it like, that's what really affects me. So yeah, like Scanlan and Grog, they have up until their moments, they have been the comedic relief. They've been the funny guy, the, you know, like
the big oaf.
dumb, yeah, the big oaf and the little guy who tells dick jokes. For them to have these really brutal moments of like bringing them into reality and like really reflecting back to them of like, what is your life? What are your choices? To me, for me personally, that's always a really powerful thing.
Yeah. I think those are the ones that hit home the most this season for me. And then just overall the whole story. I like once they got to like episode 9, I realized, oh, they're not beating all these dragons by the end of the season.
Oh no. It like
this is gonna be a long one.
It becomes slightly easier as they go along, but like
sure, they're getting stronger.
Every dragon is an accomplishment. I think I really enjoy that. Even though they are having to condense so much, because like obviously in the campaign, every victory and every vestige, everything is earned because it takes them hours to get there. And I think they still manage to, while the pacing, to me sometimes the pacing is a little weird, at least at the beginning of the season, the pacing always feels a little like, oh, we're already there.
Breakneck.
Yeah, it feels breakneck. Like, not even just in comparison to what it was originally. I think just in general, the pacing feels... We're going 100 miles an hour. But it's still, like, every... You know, like I said, every vestige felt earned. Every, like, MacGuffin felt earned. And, like, the victory over Thordak felt earned. And the victory over Umbrasyl felt earned. You still manage to, like, give all these moments weight. While still... barreling through them at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
At least for me, it seems like a pretty good replacement for actually watching the campaign. Because, again, I do not have the time to commit to that.
Honestly, yeah, you get the broad arcs. You get the broad strokes of the arcs. Like,
probably missed some of the smaller details, I assume.
I mean, all you're missing is, like, a couple more dick jokes and shopping episodes. Like... I don't want to say you're not missing anything important, because there is, like, there are, like, little things that, you know, inevitably had to get dropped and combined and, you know, they changed for the sake of, like, the narrative to be able to flow over the course of, what is it? Not even 6 hours, because they're, like, 12, 20-minute episodes. So that's what?
3 hours?
4 hours?
4 hours, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you get this is the not.
I know where you're coming from.
Quick and dirty version.
I know where you're coming from. Like I come from the Gundam fandom, so like yes, the original Mobile Suit Gundam is great, but it's also old as shit. It can be a hard watch for some people, so they watch the compilation movies. Same thing with Zeta Gundam. Like I get it. You get the broad strokes. You get the main ideas. I punched my mic. Shit.
Oh man.
But
and I knew you would like Grog because you love a barbarian.
I love a barbarian. What race is he supposed to be anyways? He's like a Goliath?
Half giant.
Okay, it's just
half giant or Goliath. Are those not interchangeable? Am I dumb?
I think they're like I don't think Goliath's
No,
I think they're like
Goliath.
Yeah, I think like the Goliaths are descended from, they're like Dragonborn. They're like descended from giants, but they're not giants. That type of thing. But okay, no, I just thought, and like the herd was like a kind of a cool dynamic because you do see a lot of them are the Goliaths, but some of them are just humans, and it's just like a band of assholes who like to fight. And if you alpha
you don't have to. Yeah, if
you're the big dog,
you don't have to. But if you watch the watch along, the watch parties, the character designers, they're so proud of the fact that for the herd, they didn't just like create 3 or 4 designs and just sort of like repeat them. Like each one is unique. An individual design, is a unique design, and they're like they show a huge variety and like a diversity within the herd. There's women,
there's humans,
because there's all sorts of people who, because anybody can be a bloodthirsty monster.
True. Yeah, so like overall impressions, I'll give it 2 thumbs up. I think it's a, definite watch if you like this sort of, fantasy entertainment, if you like D&D made into a cartoon. Yeah, I think it's definitely worth the watch. I blew through the episodes too.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm going to be doing with my Friday nights now. Because for the last month, every Friday night, I come home.
It was odd that they dropped 3 episodes at a time. They could have just done 1 episode a week and stretched it out there.
You know that nowadays it's really hard to maintain people's attention for that long. You are not going to keep people's attention for 12 weeks. I think that this is the right. I think this was the right move, and and it feels honestly like the episodes are written to be that way, because at the end of every 3rd episode, it's this cliffhanger
that will bring it.
Yeah. It almost felt like it's this weird in between of how cable TV used to be written, if you remember that, where
back in the day
when we used to have cable TV and episodes would drop every week, where in a 45-minute episode you had to write in
commercial breaks,
every commercial breaks, and so a cliffhanger before a commercial break, and then a cliffhanger at the end of the episode, or tie something up at the end of the episode and then create another problem that has to be solved the next episode. And that's recent history, because
serialized television,
baby.
DS9.
Yeah,
trailblazing.
Before even Next Generation and the X-Files, every episode was self-contained.
The thing of the week.
Yeah, it was episode of the week, monster of the week, whatever, because you couldn't rely that the people who were watching your show had watched last week's episode. So whatever, every episode would be self-contained. But anyways,
I will say they are dropping the Bad Batch every week, 1 episode every week. I'm keeping up with that. I'm gonna see where those
everybody's gonna make their own choice on that.
But yeah, so rating, impression, 5 stars, thumbs up. What do you give it?
Me personally, I'm biased. I am not allowed to.
6 stars.
Conflict of interest. If only for Percy being mildly bullied by the herd. 10 out of 10.
I did also because Percy got so much focus last season, he's basically the one who's putting the least focus this season, but he still gets his little things of he's got all his gadgets, he's making traps, he's getting bullied, he has a little thing with Vex,
his guns that don't work, his gloves that don't work.
He's so bad at making things.
Him killing the woman that it's not here yet, but he is in love with Vex because she is the one who
the seeds of it are there. And in season 1, she's the one who goes to him and she says, "Take the mask off, darling." She didn't give up on him. Not that any of them did, but she in particular was very invested in bringing him back to humanity, and she was instrumental in that. In the campaign at one point, Percy dies, and do they all just die at some point?
Oh yeah, basically every single one of them dies at one point or another, and has to go through a ritual. And now I don't remember if this is later in the campaign than where we are in the show, or if this was earlier in the campaign. This was something that was dropped. No, I think it's later in the campaign. But at one point Percy dies, and the way that basically each one of them has to say something to his soul to convince him to come back.
Oh,
and
interesting.
Because that's how Mercer, at least in that campaign, was playing the resurrection spell. Is it basically opens up a connection to the soul and lets you.
I think I've seen this. Yeah.
Yeah. And essentially, the way that Vex essentially convinces him to come back is just it confesses her love for him, and oh my god. I
the
eat it
feelings.
Up. The feelings. And the two of them, they're so iconic. Okay? They have a lot of really funny moments, and I hope that in the I don't know if this is gonna be like a season 4 or 5 thing, like depending how like the
4 or
pacing
5?
of like. Listen, they need at least 5 seasons to tell the full campaign.
Okay.
And like maybe 6.
Damn.
Like
even at the pace that they're going, they need 6 seasons potentially. At
the pace that they're going, I think they can do it in 5.
All right.
But that would mean that they would have to do the whole Vecna arc would have to happen in like a season and a half, which I think does not do it justice, but whatever. There's like one particular scene where like Vax comes in to talk to Percy. I think they're back at their keep in Amon, and Vax comes in to talk to Percy about something, and like this is once like Percy and Vex are already like established as a couple, and Vax comes in and talks to Percy, blah blah, and then leaves, and then like Percy was like in the bathtub, and then Laura Bailey, in a stroke of absolute genius improv, after that scene goes just like, but like improv, and she just goes, and I come up out of the bathtub, and like she was like holding her breath. It was. God, I can't explain it, but like
she was eavesdropping on her brother and lover in the like argument.
YouTube.com Percalia bathtub. It's so fucking funny, and people have made like animatics of it.
Well, thanks for the major future spoiler.
It's not. It's like literally a throwaway.
No, I mean the fact that they get together.
Oh please. Please.
No, I don't care.
There is the thing that I like about this show and the style of gameplay that they do is that they're not afraid of tropes. They're not afraid of like telegraphing things and going, setting things up.
That thing you expected
setting up
was
an
going to happen.
Expectation.
It happened.
Yeah, setting up an expectation and paying it off, but not just paying it off, but paying it off in a really interesting way. Of course, they're like, as soon as Osisa talked about the message, of course, now they're going to go on a fetch quest, and of course, there's going to be conveniently one for each of them, and of course, they're going to match up perfectly with what their whole thing is, and of course, over the course of the campaign, there's going to be romantic subplots, and of course, they're going to be able to kill the dragon. Like, of course, they're going to be able to kill the dragon. How we get there is the interesting part. I think I'm due for my Game of Thrones talk. But just the show, I haven't read the books. I don't know how to read. I can't be bothered. But yeah. I do want to like have an exploration of fantasy TV and tropes and an approach to audience expectations. In comparing Legend of Vox Machina and Game of Thrones. Because why not pay off what you set up? You are the one who set it up. Oh, you can't do it in an interesting way, so you have to say, no, I hate that Reddit figured out exactly what we set up. So now I'm going to just do something different, even though it makes absolutely no sense because what I set up was something different. Like, you should be happy that your audience can read what you're writing.
Is paying attention to your shit. You're sweet summer child. You've never been in the wrestling fandom. No. How many times where the owners of the fucking company realize that, someone leaked a thing that's going to happen. Let's change it. Does it make sense? No, but let's swerve them to do it. Well, now we have 1/5 of the audience we used to.
I hope the two guys who wrote Game of Thrones, even though they had no previous writing experience, and were actively said that they hated the fantasy genre. I hope that they go right for the WWE.
They may actually. All right. So I think after the winding road that's gotten us here, I think that's the end of the episode. I think that's
where we are. Go
fucking shit. Show. We forgot to do the plug at the beginning of the episode, like Noel told us.
God.
Sorry, Noel. We will remember next time.
What?
Fuck.
It's Fine, who cares? We'll do it next time.
I want that Patreon money. I want the dollars.
Hey,
we want to get them early.
Listen, if they only listen to the first 5 minutes of the episode, they're gonna get the call to action, but then they're gonna click off, and they're not gonna go. It's the people who make it to the end of the episode. You guys are strong enough. You guys know where your strength lies. You can actually sit through this. Are prattling on.
To be fair, if you are listening. If you are listening to the free version of this, if they're listening to the free version of this, they haven't heard the version that's on Patreon that has essentially an entire other episode in it of us going off.
There's, our extended me getting frustrated about Harry Potter.
Hogwarts,
version,
J.K. Rowling discussion.
Yeah, that whole thing, Gamergate, so if you made it through all this, then you're probably strong enough to listen to the extended version of this episode that is up on our Patreon. Give me $1, maybe even $5 if you're spicy, and get up in our Discord. Tell us how you feel about Legend of Vox Machina. Or if you're a person who had watched the original season of Critical Role, I want to know how you feel about the changes that were made. Is there anything that was not included in the season that you wish was? If you're a person who never watched Critical Role and Legend of Vox Machina is your first exposure to these characters, do you like them? Do you like them? I would love to know. Tell us. Come talk to us about it. So that's patreon.com/OopsAllDragons. You can find us youtube.com/OopsAllDragons. Twitter.com Twitter.com OopsAllDragons.
OopsAllDragons. I'm eventually going to get us our Facebook page up. That's been low on the priority list, but we'll get there. Instagram. I'm posting more. I've been posting on the Instagram all of our stuff from Tiny Epic Dungeons. Yeah. Which again, small last plug for the Patreon. If you want to see the full unedited gameplay videos of us playing Tiny Epic Dungeons, those are also up on the Patreon. Yeah.
OopsAllDragons.tumblr.com. In construction, but go
Under construction,
but go follow. And see what nonsense I post on there. That is our most informal. I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of using the our Tumblr as just a depository for all of the Dungeons and Dragons posts I want to reblog that just don't fit my aesthetic on my personal blog. So, that that one's our very chill cash one. Don't come for me on that one. But
give us a 5 stars on Spotify.
5 stars on Spotify.
We're on all the things.
iTunes as well.
Yeah, we are.
Drop us a little review on iTunes if you're so inclined. Give us a comment on YouTube.
Honestly, the biggest thing I'm trying to get us to is 100 subscribers on YouTube. So if you can only do one of these things, just hit that sub on the YouTube. Just hit it. Hit the bell. Just to get our episodes.
Hit the subscribe button. It doesn't mean that you have to watch every one of them, it'd be nice if you did.
It would be.
We enjoy talking to each other, and we hope that you enjoy us talking to you as well. Because I don't know about you, Varun, but I kind of treat this as we're having a conversation, and there is a third person in the room, and that's you, listener. You're in the room.
Just paying attention. A captive audience.
And whatever comments that you've been making to yourself as you've listened, we'd love to hear them. In the comments, in the Discord, in the iTunes review, in the Tumblr DMs. All of it. Come. Yeah. Give us your thoughts.
I will respond. Or Lissa will respond, potentially.
Yeah. We're online.
All right.
I think with that, we're done. Go
Goodbye.
Home. Bye.
Thank you for listening. I think that's a good way to end it off on. Thank you for listening for this extremely long episode if you're listening to the whole thing.
Oops All Dragons is a group effort. Our show is edited by Noel Hernandez, our theme was composed by Brendan Lyons, and our logo art is by Azif On Q. Links to more of their work and their social media will be in the show notes. Find us on YouTube and Spotify, and check us out on Twitter and Instagram at Oops All Dragons.